read the title, let's get straight into it. Progressive overload is king. Whether you're training at home or training at the gym, the same principles still apply. You need to give your muscles a new stimulus that they're not used to. For example, using more weight, doing more reps, an extra set, which is what your muscle needs in order to stimulate it to grow. Secondly, effort needs to be extremely high. Since we're training at home, naturally, the weight that we're using is going to be less, meaning that the reps are going to be naturally higher. With high rep sets, they're associated with that burning sensation that you feel due to all the metabolizers. And one big mistake that people make when they're doing high rep sets is they stop the set once they start to feel that burning sensation. However, the burn is just the start. This is where the most effective reps will actually start to happen. In a high rep set, let's say for example a set of 20, those first reps of 15 serve no other purpose than to get you into that struggle zone. Those are the reps that build the most muscle. So stopping too early just because it's starting to burn a little bit, that's a big mistake, and you're seriously limiting the amount of muscle that you can build. Once you get to the struggle zone, milk it for as long as you can. When you physically can't push yourself, that is when you know you're in the true struggle zone, which is where muscle is built. Right, that leads me on to techniques. Technique number one would be training to or close to failure. I think I've already covered that in the first principles section. Another principle is the rep goal system. You're just going to do as many reps as you physically can across 3 or 4 sets, for example, and you're just going to add up the total number of reps. Say you want to do a total of 40 reps across 3 sets. If you get 39 in total, then you keep the weight the same next week and aim to beat that target. Next week, let's say you get 41 reps. Cool, you've hit your target, you've even exceeded it slightly, so you can add a bit more weight next week and rinse and repeat. Next up, we've got high volume. Now, I've already mentioned that the weight that you're using isn't going to be very high. High volume would be a good technique to compensate for this. High rep sets and a large number of sets as well. Another technique you can use is down sets. This is a really good technique, and that's actually one of my favorites. Essentially, what you do is you're building like a pyramid. You have a target top number, let's say, for example, 20. On the first set, you do 20 reps. Take a short rest. Then on the next set, you do 19 reps. Remember we spoke about how you have to train with higher effort and high volume. This is naturally going to help you achieve that because number one, you've got objective targets to meet, so you're going to struggle through the pain no matter what. And number two, it's a high amount of volume, which is again what we need when we're dealing with a very low amount of weight that we're training with at home. Last but not least, we have weighted stretches. Now, weighted stretches is essentially when your muscle is lengthened under resistance over a large range of motion. Examples of exercises we see in the gym or in the park are dips, where your pecs are really stretched out. Implement this at home, for example, with deficit push-ups by a couple of books. And doing push-ups, bring your chest below where your hands are rested on the books and coming back up. The stretch portion of every movement is the most hypertrophic, the most potent stimulus for muscle growth. Therefore, if you implement weighted stretch exercises, for example, deficit push-ups or any sort of tricep extension with your arm overhead, every rep that you do is going to be extremely efficient in providing a good stimulus for your muscle, even with limited weight. Equipment. With the backpack, you can add random objects you find in the house. That can be books, that can be DVDs. Remember we spoke about progressive overload? Well, adding weight is probably the most simple way of doing it. Number two, books. Now, obviously I mentioned backpacks just now. You could always add books to your backpack to add a significant amount of load. You can even use books as platforms to make exercises more challenging. So for example, push-ups to deficit push-ups to give you that weighted stretch that we spoke about. Sofas, you can never forget sofas, decline push-ups, incline push-ups, Bulgarian split squats, step-ups. Finally, probably the most important piece of equipment, your pen and your pad. If you're not using this, you're not serious about building muscle. You need to have objective numbers to work from. Don't forget to note down every rep, every weight that you use, every set that you do, so that every session that you do, you have a threshold with which you're trying to beat. Even if you don't beat your targets every time, the intention is what matters. And naturally, you will start to beat your targets. Obviously, as long as you're sleeping well and you're eating well as well. And finally, ditch that 2-week six-pack mentality. Especially around this time of year, New Year, people want to get rid of their belly fat in 2 weeks. People want to get swole in 2 weeks. Muscle building is such a slow process. If anybody's telling you that their 5-minute workout can give you a body transformation in 2 weeks, then they're just being a bit disingenuous, to be honest. This concludes the video. Hope you found that useful. I'm going to be releasing a video following this with a free sample home workout program. one for beginners and one for intermediates as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your people. In a bit.